How do you feel about the work that women's rights groups and women's issues groups do in Canada to address women's issues?
I think they're doing a pretty good job. I mean, in a first world country like Canada, you can always make the argument of like, oh, well, we have rights, so it's fine. But then when it comes to equal pay and stuff, that's a bit harder, especially for specific industries. It's hard to really make a change and get people to think differently about that.
I guess I don't know enough about what groups are actively doing. I have had some contact with Vancouver Rape Relief, so I know I support their mission and what they're doing and all that kind of stuff.
It's an interesting question. Women's rights groups in Canada, I guess I see it as more of a general political issue. I don't really see it as a specific groups that are identifying and working on women's issues. I hear it worked through a lot of the rhetoric of a lot of our elected officials, a lot of our political parties. And I don't really identify women's issues with one particular group in Canada, I guess. I do in the States, but I don't so much in Canada. I think it's much more general in the political environment.
I think under the new government, hopefully things will change a bit better. Justin and his wife look a bit more promising than Harper was, so
Yeah.
I'm hoping things will change. But right now, for a first world country, I don't think it's exactly as equal as it should be.
I think that sometimes some people might think that they come across a little strong, but I feel like that's really important for what they're doing because if they're not noticeable, some people might just not hear their voices.
Are there any women's issues that are close to your heart that you feel strongly about?
I think they're all an issue, really. Like, I don't know. I believe in equality, so.
For me, I think birth control and things like that. I feel like, I guess in Canada we are quite liberal and things like abortions are more accepted than, places, especially in the United States. There's places where it's dangerous. It's actually dangerous to your life to go to an abortion clinic. But I do feel like it could be a little bit better, covered under medical a bit more.
I think just the ongoing debate about abortion rights is something that I'm passionate about just because it needs to be addressed and it should be pro-choice. People should have the right to make their decision all over the world.
Yeah, I feel close because I'm a woman, but I can feel close a black guy, or I can feel close a Chinese, or I can feel close LGBT. I feel close everyone because I think it's more humanity.
How do you feel about the work that men's rights groups in Canada do to further men's issues?
Doesn't seem to be any.
I don't really see much of it, to be honest.
Are there men's rights groups?
I don't know.
Well, men kind of built the system, so I figure their issues are cared for.
I find that a complicated, issue of men's rights groups. I understand the need that men want to be heard as well, but I guess I just think it's feminist because you need to start at the group that doesn't have the equality first.
I kind of support them. I know where everyone's coming from, and I think that they should actually work together instead of just trying to put sides on the whole situation.
I feel like men's issues are kind of a little bit more swept under the rug just because of the nature of perception that men don't really want to discuss stuff like that.
One last question. Is there a men's issue, if any, that you care about most?
I don't know what I would define as a men's issue.
I can't say. I think the focus is always on women and children.
What are men's issues?
A few examples would be domestic violence against men, higher suicide rates, lack of funding for men's health, stuff along those lines.
I guess I basically think men have life pretty easily, so we don't need that. Let's address women's and minorities' problems first. It just seemed men's groups calling for that just seemed like a way to make sure that women don't become equal.
I think as from someone who's experienced the fallout of divorce and things like that, there doesn't seem to be much in the way of support for men in that sense. I mean, I understand that we live in a society that has prejudiced and subjugated two different parts, but I feel that we neglect men's issues. It's not something that the media covers at all. We kind of it's hidden under the carpet, and I think if you bring it up, you'll expect that people will call you a sexist, and so I mean it works both ways.
I guess parental rights would be one. I do think men get kind of the short stick or bad representation in that respect.
Prostate awareness. is a big one, because that's also touched my family as well too. I suppose would be one of the more powerful ones, and that's along with a lot of stigma of not discussing it and being shy and whatnot. So that's a big one for me.
I think the commodification of men, you know, people say that women models, they're objectified, but the same goes for men as well. There are so many stereotypes that they have to go through and like live with, and I think that maybe they don't want to talk about it as much, but it's also an unheard problem.
I guess one could be that 80% of completed suicides are male.
They're smarter than women, because you know why? 75% of all men who attempt suicide are successful.
Yeah, it's
And only 48% of all the women who attempt suicide are successful. So who's smarter?
Yeah.
Figure that out.